Good.
I do not like this cancel sham. I do not like it Sam. I do not like this racist trope. I do not like it. Note. Win Wetzelver. Anna the win. Please keep the hate comments coming. They fuel me. Watch 16 Kurt. I knew this looked familiar. Andre Cuomo. Fake Jews. What a phenomenal reply. Watch that crowd chants to Trump. We love you. We love you. Joe Biden will never experience this, and that's why he is jealous of Trump. 0 9. Listen to this crack. Trump said this would happen. WH unveils elaborate processing and vaccination system. FOR illegals. Voxel form raw 4S. Awkward press conference stalls as disgraceful. Joe Biden forgets basic facts. 80 million people voted for this. 6i. If you had a chance to say one thing to Joe Biden right now, what would you say? Jill Biden is a disgusting human being. What a horrible wife. What kind of wife exploits her senile husband in front of the whole world? Joe Biden should be in a nursing home, and she should be charged with elder abuse. Jill Biden is America's gold digger, right? I will not apologize for any of my tweets. Catch me on Greg Kelly at 735. Me grabbing my MAGA hat. Must watch. Leo Terrell blows UP when a super liberal professor tries to speak for the black community. Would you vote for Mike Pence in 2024? Sounds a bit racist to me. Listen to this crack. WH vaccine plan helps minorities. It goes to janitors and bus drivers. Code 8S50. 1 Syria alert. Syrian military and Russians have fired surface missiles and rockets at a fuel market belonging to Turkey-backed Islamic terrorists in Turin. Dozens of terrorists are burned alive. The attack is still going on. A terrorist has posted this video. 5.
يا ربي دخيلك، يا ربي داخل عليك، يا ربي داخل عليك، يا ربي داخل عليك، يا ربي داخل عليك. شعلة جهنم.
2 cluster ammunition was seemingly used during the artillery attack against the terrorists. Spot 0 as 1 F8.
طلع عنقود الحركات كلها فرطات.
Three apart from Turin, other sites have also been hit. We'll post the details soon. Have seen a video showing Islamic terrorists screaming and running in different directions while on fire like in a horror movie. Netsuprat Twitter has me unfollowed you without my knowledge. Aha, it's your other account. What happened to the original one? For this video is reportedly of the missile strikes in Al Hamran. Terrorists are in panic. For Akib.
يا لطيف يا لطيف يا لطيف يا لطيف. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. شوف الله أكبر.
Netsuprat also sorry to hear that the purge by the disciples of Satan. 5 A Muslim terrorist shouts madly cursing President Assad for the missile strikes. Lol. Forks 8Q03.
لك يا بشار يا حيوان يا طاغوت يا كافر. الله أكبر. يا رب انطب على العالم يا الله. يا رب يا رب اتقوا مع الأمة يا الله.
Alex Jones is a shameless liar and grifter.
I'm getting chills right now. President Trump has taken bold action that only 2 other presidents attempted, both Lincoln and JFK. And you know what happened to both of them. The private run-for-profit Federal Reserve was established in 1913 by a consortium of foreign banks. That's on record. And in 2013, we saw 100 years of the criminal organization that had taken the United States from 10% growth rates every year to below 2% on average, and siphoned off our money and our wealth and parlayed it into a global government and a communist Chinese system they established to completely destroy the United States economically so that we would wake up homeless on the continent our forebears conquered. Well, now President Trump has quietly done it. And even Bloomberg and other publications admit that he's actually carried it out. Trump has taken over the private Federal Reserve by putting heads into the different branch banks that actually follow his orders. It was only the president in the Federal Reserve Act that could override the private run-for-profit Federal Reserve.
Is Trump a globalist planned? According to Cannon, Trump was to be inaugurated for the second term yesterday. What happened? Will the sick pervert Hunter Biden be arrested? AOC is a fraud and a moron, but never underestimate the power of dissection. She is a strong candidate for president. Her backers are very powerful and influential. Heck, we will see. Any sickness is expected from a nation that gives Cardi B Sweat a Pie the Song of the Year award. And she is promoted as an intellectual by the left. Within Syria blog, so you are comparing the sanctions on poor civilians to the attacks on terrorists. Calibriopstera 200 Zoka Pri terrorist Pri. Kairu or Calibriopstera, all you terrorists are in mourning, understandable lol. Calibriopstera 200 Zoka, that was quick from the tough guy lol. Txtko Israk 5RK. John Dane is trending again, the guy simply can't leave us alone. Txtkom Viaklib. 6 Syria update reports that more than 200 of fuel tankers of Islamic terrorists are destroyed in missile and artillery strikes by Syrians, and Russians. Western media has already started beating its chest over this war crime. 7 I have found photos of the terrorists burned to death alive, but those are too graphic and not posting them. Ismet hack within Syria blog, stop telling lies. Turk, your friend within Syria agrees with you, I don't. 8 Western-funded Al-Qaeda charity White Helmets has announced that one of its terrorists named Ahmad al-Waki has been killed in the fires resulting from the Syrian and Russian strikes in Tarin. 90 GCM. Diversity of death.
At NATO,
diversity
is our strength.
Nous parlons une multitude de langues.
Nous possédons des talents différents.
our own unique personalities.
We come from all over the world.
From every walk of life.
No two of us
are the same.
We work together.
Respect our needs.
Embrace our differences.
Because we all have one thing in common.
We are NATO.
Read about the Korean War, then this guy would seem a bit less crazy to you. How it started, how it's going. 9 Syria update, lots of terrorists killed while taking selfies and making videos for YouTube standing near the burning fuel tankers which kept exploding. Complete idiots. Trust the plan. Anna Kasparian, is this doctored Madam 7. Apparently Trump's inauguration for his second term is on 20th of this month. You have to give it to Canon, every week one of their prophecies fails to materialize, but they keep going. Ejmal no criticism here, just justifying the dollars that the Iranian regime pays me via Hezbollah's media office. Mark Lone, satanic Israeli and you talking, trying to sabotage the message of the meeting. Really weird new voter fraud anomalies that I stumbled upon. Don't let me become a part of the Clinton account. 10 a.m. ET. Major apologies, our studio was struck with a power outage last week due to a major storm. We're still trying to get everything fixed. We're delayed, but the show will go on. The Texas weather finally got us. Our brand new TriCaster just got Epsteined by the Clintons as we were about to go live. Will be an additional 15 minutes late. Scott Iron 1 burn.
See? Sorry. TriCaster's dead. the day we have massive voter fraud in Nevada with a senior Clinton campaign staffer. I'm not saying the Clintons, but good thing we have a backup. It's not quite like a paper ballot, but hopefully the Clintons have we made sure this hasn't been in the hands of the Clintons. I don't know. But look, we'll be right back in a few minutes. TriCaster's dead. Clintons.
Minutes away. Cool, will today's show make me a victim of the Clinton bot account? It's amazing a ragtag comedy show is held to a higher standard than the mainstream media. Quo 65B.
It's just amazing that we are held to these standards. Or someone goes, you said 7745. Okay, every single image we showed you was of a lot or address that doesn't exist where somebody voted from that place.
Yeah.
Perjury. Threaten me with it. Why would they go and change that one too? It's crazy that some of the ones we went to, those ones have been changed Tuesday night.
I know why. They're lying.
Oh, that's
call
it a
using that noggin.
You and your legalese.
Using that noggin.
Try and distill it for the layman.
I try.
We're having twins. Guess which one is the boy? Now go and shame yourself for misgendering. Stiff Golden. We don't do unpaid internships at Look because I personally have found that I get more consistent work from paid workers. Brand new lowest level interns are hired at 20 or used to be more because I was dumb, but I fully understand why they make sense for some businesses. Andrew Breitbart has had more of a significant impact on our lives than most people even know. I miss him. Fun 982 open 3 seconds.
Andrew Breitbart was someone who it's not just something I put on my resume because I've never put it on my resume. He was a man who had a really significant impact on my life, and he's had a more significant impact on all of your lives. Thanks for ruining the moment.
I know, I totally ruined it.
He's had more of a significant impact on everyone's lives out there than you probably even know. And so I would recommend you read his book, Righteous Indignation, if you can. And what I love about him is he's not perfect. He was a character. He's lost in some ways trying to do the right thing, and loved people, really loved people, and did a lot of good. So Andrew, I miss him. And what do you think about today? Listen, I think you could probably guess. It wouldn't be that hard. Andrew was an open book. What do you think Andrew Breitbart lived to burn down the media establishment? I do think that Andrew Breitbart, if he were alive, would be in a very different situation with big tech. I think that Andrew Breitbart would be one of the few people out there who would actually be filing lawsuits like we are and actually trying to hold politicians accountable rather than lip service and trying to maintain their own platforms. I think Andrew Breitbart probably would have been a lot more. And I would like to think, I talk about this sometimes, I'd like to think that he'd be proud of what I built, but I don't know. You never know. Doesn't matter. There's still a lot of things that he did right that I want to emulate, and even some things that I don't want to emulate. But that was formative for me. Seeing him be shit on, be betrayed, people turn their backs on him, and seeing him win. Because in real life, the good guy doesn't always get ahead, doesn't always win. And
Wonks and ladings are not a thing. They will never be a thing. Stop trying to make them a thing. Elizabeth Warren's wealth tax is political grandstanding. You can't tax someone on their paper net worth without seriously harming business employees. The wealthy will have to liquidate money to pay penalties rather than invest in hires or ramp. Expo 45 3W. Also pointing out that you date a quantifiably abnormal number of men compared to most women is a sexist indictment of other women. By the way, I sincerely hope you stop serial dating exploitative men. Open a Bible and discover what love truly is. You won't find it in Hollywood. As mentioned on yesterday's show, there is an old today we have to cross some sand. Some is behind the scenes on more mass voter fraud. Major announcements coming soon. To see you tomorrow 10 a.m. ET. What are the odds Biden even knows has running the country? Alzheimer's in America. Spot 6 Riz 2D. No man will fully understand your experiences as a woman nor you his as a man, so pick a man based on his virtues, his upbringing, and his treatment of women, black or white. Made some calls to Clark County NV on the voting irregularities. The plot thickens. Today is going to be a barn burner. 10 a.m. ET. Cool, which governor sucks more? The call is live. NOW. You won't believe what he told me. 0F. OMG, your THEONEWHO developed THE vaccine under Trump. CAN. I have your autograph. Who would you rather be, a female aide in Cuomo's office or a member of the greatest generation in a nursing home?
else too. This is something that I think people should really take notice of. It's very obvious right now. It's blatant, right? You'll go, okay, Cuomo, his brother. But this is what happens when you have people in the media. This is why this story had not been covered. And we'll get to Michigan in a second because we were on this like a dog on a bone for a very long period of time. And now that Cuomo's emergency powers are going to be removed, you're going to see the same thing happen with Governor Whitmer. And oh my God, that means she might actually have to respond to your Freedom of Information requests. But people think, okay, you have Cuomo, his brother's governor, so that's... No. Look, you have Stephanopoulos, who worked with the Clintons. You have people like Chuck Todd. You have Donna Brazile. When you have half of the media, when they are actually people who are either active Clinton or Biden or Obama campaigners or members of the DNC in paid positions, and they now work in or run media, not to mention the executives, and you look at their donations, that's when stories like this don't get covered until people start to notice the smell of the bodies. And so then a clear example of that, which you'll see, but this is the tip of the iceberg, what did the most trusted name in news have to say about this story?
Obviously, I'm aware of what's going on with my brother. And obviously, I cannot cover it because he is my brother. Now, of course, CNN has to cover it. They have covered it extensively, and they will continue to do so. I have always cared very deeply about these issues, and profoundly so. I just wanted to tell you that. There's a lot of news going on that matters also, so let's get after that.
Let's get distracted by that. He's palming it. He's palming it. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. He's like, well, I can't talk about this. Yeah. Well, you can't talk about it because it's very clear that your brother is wrong. But you had no problem having your brother on, discussing the COVID situation when there were people referring to themselves as Cuomo-sexuals. Remember that? You had Trevor Noah, you had Stephen Colbert, you had Ellen DeGeneres saying Cuomo is just a beacon. He's a shining example of what governors should do. And they identified as Cuomo-sexuals during that time. You had no problem covering it, little Chris.
What does the science tell us about repeatedly donning blackface and denying it, asking for a friend? Anyone who unironically uses the term wonkson is immediately my enemy. Damn it, my pregnant wife either wanted 8 NEGG muffin or sausage muffin with EGGBUT. I can't remember which damn it order's whole menu. We've got a great show today for all you Neanderthals out there, and by that I mean observers of actual science. 10-8 METIL. Cool. Joe Biden calls YOU Neanderthal. What do you call him? Does Joe Biden just not know how to wear a mask? No. Stay in your Chinesiski banging lane. Who built the cages? In trending right now, and would like to publicly offer an apology for having stated the obvious. People purporting to be feminists that have not spoken out against the trans agenda currently eating women's rights are frauds. Biological men have no place in women's sports. Donald Trump is more of a feminist icon than any woman breathing who works to legitimize the diabolical effort from the community to erase what it means to be a woman. Dear feminists, your silence is violence. Interesting. I've always thought the LGB should demand a breakup from the T. Gender dysphoria has nothing to do with sexual preference. Gay, lesbian, and bisexual individuals have never infringed upon the rights of women. If Rachel Dolezal began receiving black scholarships and taking away opportunities from actually black students, the world would implode. Keep that same energy regarding biological women who are having opportunities taken away from them by men who are dominating them in sports. Grishify El Charindia Bear at the source. Well, I thought this was hilarious. Kudos to you on this. Gem had a real LOL about this with my husband. I will be on Tucker Carlson tonight discussing the disaster that is the Equality Act, which despite its fluffy title provides for anything but equality. Tune in if you're easily offended. I never seem to disappoint. 8LT us is Charlie Eaker 11. This article was clearly not written by me. LOL. Did you even read your own screenshot, or are you that dense? Similar setup for President Nicolas Maduro down in Venezuela, who also checks notes as the most popular president in Venezuelan history, who checks notes again, legitimately wins every election cycle, and is surrounded by checks notes when more time domestic terrorists. God bless Texas and Mississippi. All other red states must follow. Republicans must lead by example. Allow blue states to remain the depressive, impoverished, enslaved hellholes that their communist leaders have created. Freedom-loving Americans will flee en masse America. Texas is so reckless that all of your citizens are fleeing to that state, and recall Gavinism is trending. Maybe take a hint. To all the leftists crying because Texas and Mississippi have announced they will resume freedom, did you know that you are still welcome to stay in your home all day and double mask? You don't need a government mandate to be a paranoid recluse. Either masks work or they don't work, but it can't be both. If they do work, then la costume forever. Folks should continue to wear them and thus be protected from everyone else. If masks don't work, then why the hell were they ever mandated in the first place? About 10 of my friends who attended Trump's speech but didn't go to Capitol building thereafter have had the FBI turn up at their door to ask them why they went to DC. This is criminal intimidation. Our FBI is trying to scare conservatives against ever gathering in the future. This makes it all the more important that conservatives continue to come together. Democrats have polluted our Department of Justice to do their bidding. This is unactionable thuggery and it has no place in a free country. Our FBI under J. Edgar Hoover was created to intimidate, harass, and blackmail American citizens who went against their preferred politics. Martin Luther King Jr. was one of their many targets. It is appalling to think that under Joe Biden they are harassing Trump supporters. The American people want to believe that we have a Justice Department that is committed to justice. Historically, that has not always been the case. Presently, that does not appear to be the case either. Our FBI should not be showing up at doors to intimidate conservatives. Jeff Borman. I said the FBI under J. Edgar Hoover. Prior to J. Edgar Hoover, it was not called the FBI. Hoover was the first director of the FBI, which came to be called that 1935 despite the BOI existing before he took control. I tweeted what I meant. LOL to Democrats pretending there is some obscure threat to the Capitol so that they can continue justifying the military occupation of DC. There is obviously no threat, which is why they are scant on details. This occupation was planned and had nothing to do with January 6th. Black culture honestly breaks my heart. It disintegrated so quickly from topics of faith, family, and love to absolute debauchery. We went from the Temptations and Commodores to naked women debasing themselves in the blink of an eye. We are ruining black children with false idols. We went from the Huxtables, the Winslows, and the Jeffersons to the cast of Love and Hip Hop, and we think it's racism that's keeping us from excelling in this country. This culture was not created by us. It was designed for us. Few have the courage to call it out. The person named Woman of the Year by Billboard is a woman who made a song about how wet her vagina gets. What message does this send to young black girls? I'm ranting. I was listening to Luther Vandross and Stevie Wonder this morning. LOL. Black activists are demanding millions from Black Lives Matter INC after learning they raised $90 million last year off of dead black faces. I told you guys for 2 years straight the money is used to fund white Democrats, but you didn't listen. Recampo stuffy. This is accurate. I always pinpoint the disintegration of black culture, but it's the disintegration of American culture altogether. They won't get the money obviously, but by next election cycle they will be back in the streets again rioting and looting on behalf of the same organization, which will raise even more millions, culminating in black communities still not seeing a dime. Rinse repeat. Thanks for the lecture, Princess. Your cousins are welcome to wear a hazmat suit to the grocery store to avoid those who dare to walk around like human beings. Your insinuation that choosing freedom over fear is selfish is why you were not fit to lead this great country. Not an insurrection. Feminists storm the Capitol, chase congressmen in hallways and try to intimidate them against voting for Brett Kavanaugh. Not an insurrection. BLM storm DC, put chains and ropes around federal statues to tear them down, and set fires around the White House. LOL. Lowest ratings in the history of the globes. When is it going to sink in that being insultingly rude, looking down your nose at over half of America is not good for ratings or ticket sales, downloads, or streaming subscriptions? I need a vacation. The Michelle Obama administration is running the country with the competence you would expect from a shadow government ex-first lady. As a native Texan, I am appalled. Our president has called me a Neanderthal 23 and me has verified that I have no Neanderthal ancestry gene in my genetic code. This is not to say Neanderthal lives don't matter, just seeing a lot of us Texans have grounds for a class action suit. Lady Astor, well, I guess that's it for her now. Blacks are gonna cancel her for refusing to be labeled a person of color. How dare a Hispanic reject their stupid people of color or brown labels? According to Jewish Hollywood, she's too white to portray a Hispanic. I bet she never plays one. Lady Astor, I think so, but I'm not sure. I never heard of her before. This is the first I've heard of her. Anthony DeCamo, are we sure that Sandy is not there on behalf of the Wilpons to sabotage the negotiations? I don't trust him. This is who rules white Americans today. These are the type of people who encompass America's elite Zionist bootlickers who betray their own race and their own religion on behalf of Israel's clandestine global Zionist empire. Metzah brother. Me trying to have a happy day society. Txtgumi 84 VF9 Co. I wish I knew who most of these people who got banned are, who mutuals are tweeting about in bad with names. I only recognize a few names because I mostly recognize people by their account icon pic, and once they are banned you can't see it. When you see a tweet about someone who got banned from Twitter, but if you're not sure if you follow them or not because only recognize accounts icons, you can still see their icons and see if they were mutuals. Just type the beginning of their name. You might have to scroll. Txtkano0 If there is another way of doing this, please let me know. Viazal Invictus, that's just the Jewish version of events. I'm sure that the Persians didn't do nothing wrong. Don't follow me if you've been COVID vaccinated. I don't need genetic mutants following me. I already have to deal with the 9 fans. Burger Build, I didn't know that they had gorillas in Chile. Must be communist terrorists. Disney owned by Jews say that childless families have helped their business. Q in the gay communist actor. I have been so depoliticized concerning our sham democratic system that I have forgotten what CAC is, and that's a good thing. Diana Trujillo's feel-good Cinderella story infuriates me because it's propaganda based on lies, which is insulting people's intelligence. She is portrayed as a poor immigrant who came to America with only $300, working her way through community college, becoming a self-made woman. 73. The first clue in the article is when they mention that her mother quit med school after becoming pregnant. Poor people usually don't go to medical school. This means that her parents were rich. Her dad sent her to community college so she could learn English. Do they look poor? Box 3 and 688. Burger Build, that explains my engagement rate. Not every South American who comes to the United States is poor. The elites send their kids to United States schools. The rich are usually made of thieves and liars, which might explain why she works for NASA. Her dad was an accountant in Cali. The media should be asked if he laundered for the Cali cartel. Mickey Mayor 22. Does that mean that they are gonna start jumbling the batting order around already instead of letting players play through their slumps like Rogers did last year, who tried to use 80 different lineups in 60 games? Before people go around saying that Dr. Seuss was racist because he was white, can we please tell the truth and say that he was a racist too? 26 Boigle. About a month or so ago my pinned tweet had 3,700 likes. Today it's down to 2,900 likes. That isn't people going back and unliking the tweet. That is 800 Twitter accounts that no longer exist. That's sad. Twitter's censorship deleting the opinion and existence of 800 accounts. Life goals.
I went to work and came directly home every day.
Yeah.
All the guys wanted me to go for a beer, come join our golf club, you know, that kind of stuff. No, I came directly. The best place I could think of would be with Jesse.
Yeah.
You know, just wanted to be together because we were separated by the war and stuff. You know, wherever we went, we held hands.
I remember that.
The last word she muttered was, "I love you."
Oh,
so.
Oh, Grandpa.
Hey.
Made me cry.
Oh no.
Everyone in their right mind on Twitter is about to be banned. Twitter is about to die. Nice knowing you folks. This is ridiculous. COVID vaccine is experimental. We should have the right to say that it will turn you into a cow until it's proven that it won't. Stop Twitter vaccine ban Casim 035 FC. Twitter after it bans everyone who criticizes the COVID vaccine. RIP Twitter 20062021. Stop Twitter censorship. Okay, Twitter has finally scared me enough to make a gag account. Follow me on gagpileo secondus, and feel free to give me tips on how to use it. I'm a newbie. I'm hoping that they don't persecute anti-vaxxers and COVID vaccine truthers. Call white 35 yeeks. Call white 35 anything that's not a Chromebook. Pitching ninja geist radar gun. Are you gonna abide by Twitter's new anti-COVID vaccine criticism rules? Censorship. Writer Bow. Yes, they created a new strike system to use against people who tweet what they call misinformation about the COVID vaccine. If they see 5 tweets critical of the COVID vaccine, they will permanently ban your account. It's ridiculous. So it was 8 times 6. China, get ready for some Biden rainbow bombs. Now I know we are going to war with China. All China has to do now is close a gay bathhouse in Hong Kong and it's on. What happens to your tweet threads that have been previously unrolled onto pages like 3 Agree Eater after your account is banned? Does it also disappear? Burger Pill Damn Bullet Dropping Spammer. A Vecra Story Urban 2 is my homie. There is such a thing as wanting to minimize your casualties. The enemy of my enemy is my pawn. The witches feel so secure in American society and government that they no longer feel the need to wear wigs. LMAO China making the ultimate passive-aggressive move. This is the right way to tell foreigners to get the f out. INS should do this at the border. Petty Brown. Excellent. It perfectly represents how pagans unknowingly are serving the interests of the Judeo-degenerate left. The real right is not allowed to exist under democracies because democracy is a Judeo-Masonic sham system completely controlled by them. The real right does not exist in Spain. The supposed right Popular Party originated from phalange reformists, and Vox supports Israel and Zionism. In Puerto Rico, the real right isn't allowed to exist, giving conservative traditionalists no voice in the political system. The right-wing Nationalist Party was dismantled by the FBI, while the leftist Socialist International Allied Independence Party was allowed to exist freely. Spot 9 SKU. Nieves Philip. I disagree. The nationalists were influenced heavily by Mussolini. Their youth wing, the cadets of the Republic, even wore black shirts. The party existed during the Cold War at a time when the United States called everyone who opposed them communists, even nationalist Albaizu Campos. Nieves Philip. The party had different wings and included people who would later become socialists such as PIP founder Gilberto Concepcion Gracia, but the party was first and foremost based on Albaizu Campos' ideas, and those were staunchly pro-Catholic and pro-Spanish. To me, that falls on the right. Nieves Philip. The Nationalist Party Albaizu Campos might have sympathized a bit with socialist movements like Fidel Castro and others, but that sympathy was based on mutual opposition to American imperialism. Campos booted Antonio Corretger from the party when he went full commie and atheist. Nieves Philip. That's my point. In the beginning, Concepcion was a nationalist, but he left the party because he was a leftist. He then created the PIP. I know that when he was young, he was a Mason. That's how he got to Harvard, but I've only seen admiration for the church in his writings. Nieves Philip. He wasn't cancelled because he was martyred. He was a hero, and that is why they have hijacked his image, but he was a conservative Catholic who rejected communism. Nieves Philip. I come from a nationalist family, and they all believe that the PR independence movement died when the Nationalistas folded due to infiltration, and when Independistas wanting fightals and Soviet-like Corretger went full socialists, which conservative Catholics could not fully support. Nieves Philip. Well, that's true. It's not like he was a monarchist. He wasn't perfect. He wanted an independent republic and called his youth wing the Cadets of the Republic, but who would want to go through the extra pain of trying to convert people for Spanish reunification and monarchism? Nieves Philip. Very interesting. Read he was really kissing their butt extra hard with that quote about the Protestants, as did his granddaughter. Hey, that's my family's old church if I'm not wrong. He also praised Badences, which really didn't sit well with me. kind like K's praising Bolivar. Barstool Sports his decline is due to the fact that he stopped taking apple juice and everyone knows that's why, but no one talks about it. He made it obvious for everyone to see this when his body shrunk from not taking apple juice and he kept using the same shirt size which looked too big on him. Opinions Mshawn Hebrew Theater, you can see it on his back. Burger built with all that support, the female officer still managed to get herself stabbed in the neck. Female cops. The media doesn't want you to know cause they are pushing the back Trump is bomb, Biden is saving us and COVID is going away narrative, but we are at the peak of COVID. Flu season numbers in NYC don't match their narrative. They need to tell hosts to stop classifying everything COVID. Sports 75J. Former President Trump's censoring and complete erasure of the internet is a staged psyop to make people on the right, who are fighting against unjust bans on the internet, feel completely hopeless, like Nazem felt if Trump can be banned and no one does anything. What hope do we have? 7 bin 4 liters 6 all night. Maggie 162 image talking about the baseball game that is being played. It's not like there are some die-hard Met fans who were suffering for months dying to see a baseball game or nothing. Oh wait. CNN is funny for talking about Trump and his followers still believing in the big lie when CNN hasn't stopped talking shit for the last 10 years. Everything they say is literally caca. Martina Bootleg, such a kind warm face, that is who I think it is, right? Merdeka Cart's favorite clues 4. It's time for Puerto Ricans to have an uncomfortable conversation with their family members concerning Espiritismo. Although this thread applies to others, it's specific about Pers, who have not only been given a fake identity and flag we were Spanish before 1898, but also a fake religion that costs 6 tons 5 satin. Espiritismo is so common among Puerto Ricans that it is considered to be part of our culture. Most are Catholic. They don't sacrifice animals. Many don't like Santeria or Voodoo, who they consider black magic. Notice difference between Espiritista altar and Santeria altar. 3 Ripsel 3 milliliters. Espiritismo translates in English to spiritualism, and a quick Wikipedia search shows us that Puerto Rican Espiritismo was created not by our Taino, Spanish and African ancestors but from religious fad-linked witchcraft started in late 19th century France by Allan Kardec. I am not certain whether or not Allan Kardec was a Mason, although some authors claim that he was, but it is very likely that he was. Espiritismo originated from an anti-Catholic Frenchman and likely Freemason, who was accused of being a witch for trying to conjure up spirits. 5 BEB. As part of Spain late 19th century, Puerto Rico was very connected to Europe. Hat became fashionable in Paris on a Monday, was fashionable in Saint John by Saturday. Spain under Masons like Praxedes Sagasta had no interest in stopping heresy like spiritualism. There was no Inquisition. 3. One of Allan Kardec's most famous followers in spiritualism and proud member of Kardec's spiritual school was world-renowned occultist and witch Madame Blavatsky. Espiritismo gave birth to the most famous witch, because Espiritismo is witchcraft. 7S0. Loving Everything Evil. Netflix has a movie about the founder of spiritualism, Espiritismo, Allan Kardec. Everyone who believes in Espiritismo should see the ridiculous origin of their beliefs. Toxic to Saya. In 1903, Rosendo Matienzo Sinarna Mason, who fought for Puerto Rican independence from Spain and for statehood with the United States, created the Federación de los Espiritistas de Puerto Rico with United States support and likely at their direction. By 1959, there were 100,000 Espiritistas on the island. 5 and 8. 6L. Puerto Rican Espiritismo is not Puerto Rican. It did not come from our Taino, Spanish and African ancestors. It came from a Frenchman who was accused of witchcraft, was brought to Puerto Rico by a Grand Master Mason and the United States government, seemingly to separate us from Roman Catholicism. Count 9. Irini 09. They confuse being a sheep for Christ with being a sheep for the government. Pope Frankie gets a jubilant welcome in Iraq. Those heathens should be on their knees and have their head bowed, but I don't mind. That's not a real pope anyway. Merc13065731 dem, so that's what's waiting for me over at Gag Geeks. Espen is making their baseball games unwatchable for men who still have a penis attached to them every time I hear this female commentator speak. I cringe. Stop feminizing baseball. Baseball is a man's sport. If she wants to make money, tell her to make an OnlyFans. 51 Batman Kavorkamation. Typical Protestant propaganda. You don't know what you are talking about. Today's church and poets act that way because they have been infiltrated and subverted by Protestant Freemasons who work for international Zionism. They corrupted Buffs for centuries and now the Holy Church. I find it funny how white Protestants are finally waking up from centuries of Judeo-Masonic control. Meanwhile, Roman Catholics, who fought against Judeo-Masonic control, are now going to sleep because those who control their nations now control the Vatican. One struggle against Snipe, Sal Licata, Anthony Recker, Tazio Martinonic, Cadillac. Mets commentators in Monday. Pete Alonso really had a bad year last year. Mets commentators on Friday. 60 games is not a big enough sample size to say how good or bad Edwin Diaz is. Rand Paul for sainthood. If the Catholic Church can canonize John Paul II, who directed the Vatican to recognize the great Satan Israel diplomatically, then they can canonize an Episcopalian. I don't get this. Search the internet anonymously and without a trace, but first enter your email here. Osnat. She called her a Satanist as soon as she said that the reporter was like, I got one that can see up for no.
Maskless shopping is for people that believe in freedom over fear. We are not going to be controlled by the media. We have our own thoughts and we have our own reasons for not doing things, and we're not breaking a law by not wearing a mask.
So do you believe that COVID-19 can be spread from people not wearing masks?
It can be spread no matter what. Those masks don't do anything.
So you don't think the masks help?
They don't help.
One person is dying in Los Angeles every 10 minutes.
I don't want to keep hearing
COVID.
these fake statistics.
That's
They're
not fake.
They're all fake. My point is freedom. You do not tell us what to do with our faces. And what you're doing is you're part of a satanic mask-wearing ritual wearing that thing. You are part of a satanic mask-wearing ritual.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, Shiva.
Jews just want to be able to hide better.